It's a very good afternoon to you, South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us right here on SABC One in Mzansi for show. My name is Manie Van Schalkwyk, and once again, you are joining us right here on the show for another episode of Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right to coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios right here in Johannesburg. Well, you can also be a part of us right here on the show by calling us on our number, that is 011 714 6918 and 6919. And of course, you can send us our emails or your emails to consumer@sabc.co.za, or rather just go and find us on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @CPWonzaumbed, of course, hashtag Yilungelo Lakho. Go and find us on Facebook as well. Our Facebook page is Yilungelo Lakho. Drop your comment on today's update, and of course, we'll be able to read those during the show. Mzansi, everywhere where you're watching us, good afternoon. It's showtime. Now, identity fraud continues to be a big problem in South Africa, and of course, with people not knowing what to do and which necessary steps to take, it continues to spread, and the pandemic goes uncontrolled. Many people in South Africa find themselves having a huge problem of their identities being stolen, and of course, with that prevents them from living their lives to normality. Today on Yilungelo Lakho, we decided to tackle on this issue because many people, including you watching right there at home, you might be one of the people who are suffering or who are a victim or fallen victim of this huge problem. So, joining me in studio this afternoon to discuss this issue, of course, I've got Octavia Joseph, who's joining us, and of course, she is the victim, and just next to her is Manie Van Schalkwyk from the South African Fraud Prevention Services, and of course, we've got Beetar ovela phaya Experian, yena ngamanye amaziko ashicilela amagama abantu basengxakini. So those are people basically who have fallen victim of this problem. Remember that you can also be a part of us right here on the show. The number is 011 714 6918 and of course 6919. We're willing and always waiting to hear from you. Tell us, in case maybe you're one of the people who have fallen victim of this, identity fraud is all we're talking about today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with you, Octavia. You're one of the people. Thank you so much, firstly, for coming forward and for sharing your story right here on the show. Just tell us, take us through your story. What happened?
Okay, thank you so much for the invite on your show. Like I said, I'm working for retail, so I'll give you a little bit of background of that. But what had happened was, as I was sitting at work, and with a notification on my cell phone, because I've actually applied, in actual fact, I've actually said to my bank, it's easier, you know, when you have that notifications coming to you, you are in control of your banking, or of your funds, your banking account, you feel safe. So with the debit orders coming through, that was the first alert for me. And like I said, because I'm a retailer, or I was working for retail, for some reason your instincts kick in, and I knew what to do. You knew, exactly. And firstly, I found the bank and I wanted to find out, okay, what was the debit order about? Because the credit provider who's actually debited my bank account, I've got no business with them. And when they said, no, it's a normal debit order, I actually found the particular credit provider, and I then queried as to what was the reason for the debit order. And they said, but you've got an account with us, you've applied for cell phones. And I said, no, I did not. But nevertheless, be that as it may, I actually went to my bank, reversed and done what I had to do, but then I took it further. I actually done an IDC check on my
So had you known, now that you're getting these debit orders, and you said first instincts told you that there must be something wrong, or you actually felt it, how did you know that it could be a possible case of identity theft? Somebody could have, you know, brushed it off and thought, I don't have accounts with this, these retailers. So what actually triggered you to go forward?
If you know your financial business and you know what debit orders is supposed to go through your bank account, you'll know when something isn't right. And that is what triggered my whole reaction. I knew something wasn't right at all. So, and like I said, because I'm in retail, I queried it and I actually took it up. Yes.
Manie, let's bring you into the conversation. Identity theft continues to be a big problem in South Africa. A lot of people, not just in South Africa, in Africa, with the ever-changing face of technology, you know, why are we still, you know, why haven't we got into the gist of this problem, you know, and perhaps come with, you know, a technology way, or any kind of, you know, intervention that might come, you know, to the rescue of consumers? Why haven't we got there?
Yeah, maybe I can just give you a little brief background about our organization. South African Fraud Prevention Services play a role in two main areas. The first is for industry, and that I mean banks and retailers, insurance companies, medical aid companies. If they are getting defrauded by an individual, they will list them on our database. And before somebody opens a loan, they will come to our database and see if somebody is listed on, and then they will not provide them with a loan. So that is the first part of our business. The second part of our business is if somebody, an individual, has lost their ID or their ID has been stolen, or they are a victim of, typically like Octavia, a victim of fraud, they would list their identity with us and we will protect them against further fraudulent transactions.
So it's basically people who have been cheated on, you know, like you said, medical aids and insurances and all that, but you do give recourse. You protect the identity of the victim and also give recourse in possible cases.
Yes. So firstly, if the organization was defrauded, they protect themselves, and obviously the consumer then on the other side. To get back to your question in terms of technology and identity theft, I think we're using biometrics, what we call biometrics, where the Department of Home Affairs captures our fingerprints when they issue an ID. And the banks and the retailers are starting to use that more and more. So we see actually a decline in identity theft, which I think is quite great. Although it's still a significant problem, that it's on the decline.
All right. Michelle, let's bring you into the conversation. Experian, what exactly do you do?
So we're a credit bureau. That's what people know us first and foremost. And Octavia spoke about
you punish
going
people.
No, we don't punish people. We're a library.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time, credit bureau enable people to have access to credit. But we also help businesses make decisions. We help businesses decide whether or not this is likely to be a fraudulent application. You asked Manie the question, why, with all the technology that's available, why haven't we got to it? You know what? Because we're consumers, right? And we're funny people. We, on the one hand, we want and we insist that organizations protect the information they have. So when we're dealing with a bank, they hold very sensitive information, just as we do as a credit bureau, and we take that very seriously. Banks do too. As consumers, we expect that. And yet we are very free with sharing information on things like social media and the like. And there's, you know, the onus is not just on the service providers, it's also on the individual to protect their information. And it's quite easy to...
When we're talking about protection, we need to get to, you know, what kind of protection, what we need to do, because I might think I'm protecting my information by keeping my ID to myself. I haven't lost my ID, but I believe there's some kind of information that we put out there that might actually compromise our identity.
There's lots of that. You know, when we're on social media, one of the things, kids in particular, although they wouldn't be subject to identity theft because they're not yet credit active, as an example. But we will play these games on Facebook where, you know, what kind of flower would you be if you were a flower? And they ask you questions like, what's your favorite? What's your favorite color? What was the name of your first pet? Think
if you
about
were to come back in the next life, what would you be?
And now think about when you get those challenge questions to reset passwords with service providers and the like, what are the questions that they ask you? They ask you, what's your favorite color? Things that you'll remember. So you're volunteering this information.
Wow.
Now imagine what in the wrong hands, now I'm not saying everybody who collects that information, they're trying to build a profile on you, but not everybody collects it is a good, you know, is using it for good.
We had a classic case just on that, is that somebody got their first ID on the card and they posted that. They showed it with a big smile.
Even the ID number.
Big smile on their face and say, I've got my first ID.
Excited,
and there was the ID number exposed all on Facebook. And that is the way that person actually compromised their information.
But when just talking about, you know, this information being out there and of course how big the picture is, just paint it for us in South Africa specifically. In the past 5 years, have we gotten any better or are things getting worse?
I think it's getting better. It's still a substantial problem, and I think we've, in terms of our database, standing on about 100,000 fraudsters being listed on our database. In terms of a yearly increment of listing that information, that is getting better. So we're listing less and less information in terms of identity fraud. So I think it is getting better, but it's still significant enough for people to not relax about it, but really making an effort. You know, things like when you throw your post away with your Edgar's account, shred it. And if you don't have a shredder at home, take it to the office. I'm sure somebody will shred it for you. You know, so that is typically where people.
And most likely, what kind of people are willing, are usually or just popular to fall victim for this?
Oh, everybody.
Everybody.
There's no.
So nobody's safe.
No one's immune.
Everybody is.
And I hear Octavia, she said, you know, what actually put her at an advantage is the fact that, you know, she's in retail, so she knew exactly what to do. But a lot of people don't know what to do. And, you know, they might take this for granted and think, oh, I'm safe, or it's probably a mistake. Have you come across cases like that?
Yes, I think if I can give advice, and I think Octavia did exactly what she needed to. If something doesn't look right, then it's not. And she followed up immediately. So the best is to phone your bank and get the information. And you need to act immediately because what happens if somebody is now stealing your identity, what they do with that is they go and open an account. They buy goods and they buy services, and you will become liable. So until you stop it, you need to act.
It will continue.
Obviously, through a process, you can prove that you are a victim, and then each company will decide how they will deal with that. But it becomes a financial burden if you don't protect your ID.
All right. Well, I think it will also be interesting to know where one can check if their identity could possibly be stolen. Well, you're still watching Yilungelo Lakho right here on SABC 1 in Zanzibar for sure. We're coming to you live, so we can take your calls on 011 714 6918 and of course 6919. Today we're talking issues of identity theft. You know, possibly you went to buy something, or you know somebody, you know, had their ID being duplicated and being used for other things. This is the show. We're going to give you all the recourse and possibly, you know, just equip you with all the right information as to what to do and where to go. Well, after the break, we'll continue with this. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. You're still watching Yilungelo Lakho right here on SABC 1 in Zanzibar for sure. Today we're talking about issues of identity theft. You know, ukulahlekelwa mhlawumbe kusetyenziswa kobuni bakho, amagama wakho, nefani zakho, ne-ID number zakho for izinto ezingalunganga. Namhlanje ke sinazo ingcali zethu apha studio kusicacisela ba wonke lento yenzeka kanjani okanye ungathi ulifumana kanjani uncedo xa ukrokrela kuba mhlawumbe kusetyenziswa amagama akho for izinto ezingasizizo. Khumbuka ke bebenthe ungasala umnxeba kapha enqubeni inamba yethu ithi 011 714 6918 and of course 6919. And right now I've got to Shadrach, who's calling us from Tsakane. Shadrach, asikwamkela enqubeni bhuti.
Siyabulela baba.
Yeah.
Mina nenkinga bengisiye Bloemfontein nge-19 lapha ka May.
Yeah.
Mangisiya ngafika lapha eNantsika eaccountant sekuthiwa izovalwa iflight yami, but bangilungiselela, but true ngiphumela ama-security gates mase ngifika lapha eNantsikeni. Lapho ngizobhoda khona ngabona ukuthi i-ID yami angisayiboni lapha esandleni, maybe ilahleke kunye nezinye izinto. Akhuphi i-driver's license kuba ngileke ukuthi ngiye eBloemfontein. Ngibuya ngayothi information center lapha e-airport OR Tambo, ngabuza ukuthi abatholanga i-ID yami, bathi hayi abayitholanga.
Yeah.
Bathe mandiye lapha e-police station e-airport. Lapho ngifike ngareporta khona bathi hayi bazawufuna ku-lost and found, and then bandinika inamba ngifonele khona, ngifonele more than 4 times bathi abayitholanga. Mangisithi ngifuna ukufaka i-case number ngireport ukuthi i-ID yami ilahlekile, bathi hayi kumele ukuthi ngiye home affairs kuzogcinywa lapha lo ID leyo bengisebenzisa yona.
Okay, kwenzeka ntoni ke ngotata?
Angayitholi futhi i-ID yami manje, angazi ukuthi noba manje ngayitholi ilahleke e-airport akho umuntu uzoyithatha ayisebenzise.
Akho nto seyenzekileyo kwi-finances zakho okanye ebhankini into ekrokrelayo, akabikho nto njalo?
Hayi, akukabikho nto engithenga eNantsika ngayikrokrela ebhankini, but yona inkosikazi ine-messages oluyithola efonini yakaFoshini, kodwa i-ID khona but bathi unetshala lapha kaFoshini.
Okay. Dr. Shadrach, khawubukela lapha eTV-ni sasama kuba ingcali zethu apha studio zama ukukucacisela mhlawumbe ukuba uzawufumana apho uncedo nento ezinjalo. So basically what happened to Shadrach is that he was traveling to Bloemfontein just a few days ago or a week ago, but he lost his ID. So he had to use his driver's license to get through to catch the flight. His ID has been missing since. He tried to get recourse by going to the police station to get the case number and to report that basically has lost his ID. He has not gotten any suspecting, you know, acts on his bank account or anything like that, but he wants to know what he can do just to prevent that from happening?
Yes, and I think Shadrack is doing the right thing to wanting to protect, even if he just lost it without being a victim first.
So is going to the police station enough?
Well,
or can he do more?
He must come, and he must come to us. He must come to South African Fraud Prevention Services, which we will give a number. He can just SMS us, and we will phone him back. And we will then list that on our database. We will ask him to do some stuff. We will ask, we want that case number from the police. We want a slip from Home Affairs where he applied. Remember, we must make sure that this is now a real case. And we'll ask for his statement. And then we will list it on our database as a protective registration. So when Frederick does go then to an Edgar's or a bank to open an account, they would, keeping in mind, they would not know if there's...
so can I call the Fraud Prevention Services on 01186, the number that's on the screen? But you also said there's an SMS that works better.
Yes, it does work better if they can, some of the consumers can SMS the word protect ID, one word, to 433, to the number 43366.
66, okay.
Yes.
So they can SMS ubukela phekaya ke Shadrack na ukuvile nonkosikazi wakho mhlawumbe kuthi alifumane imiyalezo ethi ungakhona mhlawumbe into ezenzeka account yakhe. You can SMS to protect ID. You can SMS protect ID to the number 43366. Nakomnye kumuntu mhlawumbe ke bantu makwethu obekuleyo phekaya mhlawumbe la ulahlekelwe iID yakho kanye iDriver's license ngazi into ezincinci ezingathi mhlawumbe zenze into kubana sikubeke kwindawo yokubana ufumanise ba i-identity yakho is being used for things that you know nothing about. Now, 011 714 6918 and 6919. Let's come to you, Octavia. You said that when you discovered or when you knew, you sort of suspected because you're also in the, in business, you know what happens. What else did you do? What next? So you've discovered, you went to contact these shops. You know that you had no kind of contractual agreement with them for them to deduct money from your bank account. What else did you do?
Okay, what happens next now you need to dispute it with the 4 major credit bureaus within South Africa.
Yeah.
You need to and that's the frustration about it, because now the fraudsters all gone. You sit with all this headache and heartache, and it's time consuming, but that's the next best thing to do, is to actually dispute it with all the major ITCs, for them to clear it. What they then do is they will investigate, and you need to send them all your documentation. Sorry. You need to send them all your documentation, and they will investigate, they will get back to you, and they will clear your name. And
but fortunately for you, you were not blacklisted or anything like that. You acted before.
I acted before. In fact, I was with one of the credit providers. It was already, because remember there's an ITC, there's an inquiry on your name. So that on its own has a negative effect on your credit bureau score.
Well, I think the other thing, just to add to what Octavia says, so even though they may not, so sometimes fraudsters play a long game, so they will pay for a while and then suddenly stop paying and figure out whether you've noticed. So can they go and take out more and more accounts?
So at least they do start paying.
They will pay, some of them, not all of them. But that'll affect your affordability. So when, suddenly when Octavia goes and genuinely looks for credit, she suddenly she's not affordable because she's got all these payments that are supposedly against her account. So one of the things that Shadrack should do, in addition to what he's already done, is go and draw his free credit report and just make sure that in the ensuing period that somebody hasn't opened an account already, even if he hasn't happened to notice it, that it isn't there.
But just to check. So it's always important to go and check your credit report.
Correct.
Okay, let's go. Remember that I said you can call us right here on the show, 011 714 6918 and of course 6919. Right now I've got William who's calling me from Diepkloof. Hello, William.
Hello, it's me.
Miriam. Hi, Miriam.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, in the case that you didn't lose your identity document, but somebody managed to do a fraud with your identity, because I once had a loan with African Bank, but I paid it off, and after some time, I was not even working that time. Then I got messages from African Bank that I was owing a credit card, I was owing a loan. So I did make a follow-up about that thing, and up until now, because they were frustrating me, they were calling me left and right. What do you do? Because I had to send my my ID copy, my bank statements, even my the paper that says that I was currently unemployed by that time. So it frustrates me because I can't do anything. African Bank has listed me.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Miriam. That was Ma'am Miriam who's calling us from Dipkloof. You can also call us right here on the show, 011-714-6918 and 6919. After the break, I'll be reading your emails and, of course, just try and see if we can help Ma'am Miriam right here in studio. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. All right, so I said you can send me those messages on Facebook and, of course, on Twitter. Just keep the Twitter roll going at Sipiwo Nzawumbi and hashtag Yilungelo Lakho. And right there on Facebook, I'm going to check those messages you've sent me right now. All right, we just missed. Okay, they're back. We've got Landi Swambilini who says, hey, speech, lento yenzeka kum kwaqhekezwa endlini ndisecaweni indawo yekuseni kumke impahla zonke izetifikethi ne-ID book zasebhekini leyo yayinempahla emveni kwenyanga ndava kuthiwa ndityala u-African Bank ndayoripota le nto emapoliseni akazange ayihoye ngoku andazi ukuba ndithini ndisekapa Philip Avail. Masofi Makapakwe says this is painful because sometimes other people use your ID number to open any account. Then they won't pay that account. You have to be aware that you will be responsible for the payment of that account, and other people are blacklisted for something that they did not know or they don't know. Kutalo Stanot says speech. Some people become ignorant or lack of knowledge. They don't report to their nearest police station if they lost their identity document. Instead, they go to Home Affairs to make a new one, and they later face consequences of paying an item they did not take. Well, you can continue to send those messages right there on Facebook, and remember that I said you can also call us right here on the show. And right now I've got Zamokwake who's calling us from Durban. Zamokwake, welcome to the show, Bab.
Yeah,
Sikhona kunjani?
Yebo ngiyaphila but mina inkinga mina bhuti angazi ngahlole ID kodwa angazi ngivule account naye but uyafona ungisoda ama message angazi fanele ngenza kanjani noma fanele ngibona angazi ngiyebona bangifola bathi nginesikweleti efangame ngiye khona ndisikhokhela kahle abantu balokho ukuthi ngithina ngazi ngibene account yakawulwethu
uma uyakhona kuthiwani uma uya kwaWoolworths
kanjani ke ngoba ngazi ngivule account nami
babuzama kwakhe uma uya kwaWoolworths kuthiwani
ngiyela
xa uya kwaWoolworths kuthiwani pha kwaWoolworths
angayi ke khona baba ukuthi ngizakhola ukuthi manje ngisithola isikhathi mangisebenze emini ngisenza zonke izinto bangofi njalo kodwa ngizokwazi ngizama ukuthi ngiye khona bengitravel advance la khona nifake kanye ngenze njani ngiyakhona.
Okay. Bukela TV yakho ke tata sazama kuba sikunika ingcebiso ukuba ungenza ntoni. So before the break, remember we had Ma'am Miriam who was saying that, well, similar case to Zamokwake. These are people who have not lost any documents, but they keep on getting calls that they're owning different whether banks or retail stores. What can they do? Let's start with you, Manie.
Well, there are two things that needs to happen. The first thing immediately is that the person or the consumer should try to sort out the problem with African Bank or Woolworths in this case. And I'm going to ask Michelle to just give you the process that needs to be followed there. So you need to take care of the account, and number two, you need to take care of your ID, of your identity, and you need to protect that.
But in a case like this, like Ma'am Miriam said, and also here Zamokwake saying, we didn't lose anything.
Yes.
We just have people saying we're owning certain retailers and actually getting calls.
Remember when I mentioned when people don't shred their post, you know, the information is there. The information is on the social media. The information is all over.
Yeah.
And if somebody starts putting a profile together, it's very, very easy to create an individual or to steal somebody's identity. It's not only by your ID or stealing the ID.
So Michelle, here I am. I'm getting calls from retail stores. They're saying I'm owing, and I've got this huge debt with, you know, bank. What else can I do? Well, in terms of, you know, as U.S. credit bureaus, what's the procedure of clearing my name?
So you can get hold of us.
Okay.
Look at your credit report and dispute those items that
so
you
I
didn't open.
Call you to access my credit report.
Correct.
Okay. First step.
Get access. Look at that. Say, these are the accounts that I didn't open. We will then lodge a dispute with those credit providers for you. The good news about that is that we then hide that information off your credit report for a period of 20 days, which is how long it takes for us to, that's the service level that we have in place with consumers to say, we will sort this out for you within 20 days. And we help liaise with the service, with the credit provider to understand. Now, if the result may not be a great one. It could be that the credit provider says, no, sorry, it was you. We're convinced it was you. And, you know, and they'll ask for all sorts of things. Have you gone to the police station? Have you opened a case? Let's make sure that you really, your identity really was stolen, or that that you've put an affidavit in that says this was not me. If normally the process has a positive result. If it doesn't, you still have further recourse, because you can go to the credit ombud. And you can take it to another level and say...
So there isn't always recourse for the victim. Sometimes the creditors could say it was you, like you said, and so the victim, or rather the perpetrator, will get away with it.
It can happen, but it's, you know...
Well, if consumers have not opened, they shouldn't pay it. So I think they need to dispute it to the fact, and if somebody has opened an account on my name, there is no way that I'm going to pay it. I will dispute it with a credit bureau, I'll take it to the ombudsman, I'll take it to the regulator, I will take it to every forum which possibly can. Because it is not right for you to pay if you are a victim of fraud.
So, okay. First one, because I'm really trying to, you know, I'm just battling with the ball here. So you get the credit report, you dispute it.
We help you.
Should you not help me, I take it up
you can
to
take
the
it up to the ombudsman.
We still need to get that SMS number for identity protection. You said it's 43366. Should you not be able to help me, what else can I do? Like, is it guaranteed that when I come to you, you're going to assist me?
I think if you are, well, we will definitely protect you, protect the ID. But in the case where an account has been opened already, it's a different story. So
I should come to you before it actually happens.
Yes.
Prevention.
Yes, absolutely. If you are a victim as well, you can come, and we will list it so that you note that you don't become a victim of more of these cases. But if you are a victim already, I think through Michelle's process that she explained, I can't think of anybody that will not be helped through that process.
Yes.
All right, great, guys. Let's go and hear from Derek, who's calling us from Rustenburg. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Mhlekazana.
What happened?
Hello. Man, botse babukeli baka SABC1. Man ndingafuthi nezimvubo man nyolapho kufela ithole khona.
What happened?
Ewe bhuti mandibuze bhuti. Umuntu ose-Rustenburg mhlawumbe umuntu ose-Platinum Village nasesondela fumaniseke umuntu wenzekele ingxaki njalo lahlekelwa zi-ID. Fumaniseke ngoku angayaphi angancedeka laphi umuntu onjalo. Fumaniseke ngoku umuntu oyodlekela sebesenza amatyala ngeento ze-ID zakhe. Xa enjalo angazilungisa njani, senziwa angancedakala kanjani umuntu onjalo.
Utheni tata khawuphinde usithe through esi story kwenzeke ntoni?
Mhlawumbe umuntu ulahlekelwe i-ID yakhe yabiwa umuntu. Ngoku umuntu owenza ukungcola nge-ID yakhe. Odekala sewanjalo.
Wavula amatyala zonke ezaa zinto.
Umuntu oselapha ePlatinum Village.
Kaloku tata kutshiwo kwathiwa into ekufuneka yenziwe.
Mhlawumbe akanalwazi oluphangaleleyo nge-ID yakhe. Bangenza njani?
Njani kuba akanalwazi oluphangaleleyo? Akayazi uba ilahleke phi?
Senzo ilahlekile kanye ibiwe. Senzo mhlawumbe angayaphi, senzo angayaphi.
Kaloku jonga tata, yakulahleka i-ID sithi into abayenzeke ngoku qala uhambe phaa emapoliseni uyoyiripota ukuba ilahlekile. Uyaqonda? Ukusuka apho uhambe uyotsheka i-issue zama ukufumana i-ombudsman. Khona amaziko agcina zonke iinkcukacha zakho njengamthengi into yokubana awukho sematyaleni ubhatala kakuhle yonke loo nto. So i-ombudsman zizo kuzawufike phaa ucela i-credit record yakho. Credit record ke yile uzawufika ujonge kuyo ukuba ingaba sewekhona namatyala enziwe ngaphandle kokwazi kwam. Then ke sawuyiqalisa apho ke indaba ye-identity theft.
Mandithi tata mhlawumbe kanguye kwamsinya tata fumanise umuntu usenze amatyala kwezinto.
So mazi uba wenza amatyala kutheni ufonelwa ngonovenkile wena?
Fumanise kuvele isikhuntyula setyala elikhulu ngentloko etreyini.
Yilaa nto kaloku tata sithi ke ngoku kufuneka uthumele i-SMS phaya ku-identity protection. Uyaqonda? Inamba ekufuneka uthumele kuyo ngu-43366. Bazakwazi babakuncede ne-ombudsman eze kufuneka uye kuzo, because okokuqala funeka uyoripota emapoliseni bakwenzeka into ethile. Istep sesibini ke ngoku into yokubana uhambe uye phaa ku-ombudsman ufike utsho into yokubana la matyala wavulwanga nguwe. Izawuqala apho ke ngoku uphandwe nokuba kujonga into yobana kwakungasinguwe nyani na.
Umbuzo wam tata mandithi akanguye ngazosifuna ukwazi ukubhala akwazi SMS.
Kofuneka umncede ke wena muntu okwazi ukubhala.
Angenza njani umuntu onjalo?
Tata uDerek andithi wena uyakwazi ukubhala?
Akwazi ukubhala, akwazi ukufunda zonke nto.
Ima kaloku tata wena uyakwazi ukubhala ndithi?
Ndiyakwazi
uzamnceda ke wena ukwazi ukubhala. Uzakwazi wena uyakwazi ukubhala uzamnceda.
Yes. Mhlawumbi umuntu uhlala
Tata uDerek ngenxa yexesha tata.
abantwana bakhe bebaningi kakhulu.
Ngenxa yexesha siyaxolisa kakhulu. Awuzasala kumnxeba funeka sihambe siyothenga siyobhatala phaa amatyala ethu esivenkileni. Tata uDerek masiyibamba apho tata. Ungakwazi ukuphinda usifumane ke nawe phaa ku-0117146918691. Khumbuke ke mbukeli ukuba xa ufowuna sincede torho ukuba ingxaki yakho ukhawuleze ukwazi ukuyishwankathela enza basinika abanye abantu ithuba nokuba nawe ukwazi uba uphenduleka apha enkqubeni. Masike siyobhatala amatyala sawubuya ungayi ndawo. Well, let's come live to you right here on SABC 1 in Stanza. For sure, you're watching Yilungelo Lakho. Today, we're talking about identity theft. You know, ukufumanisa into yokubana igama lakho kanye iinkcukacha zakho zisetyenziswa for izinto ongazaziyo. I said, send me those messages on Facebook, and then I'll be able to read them, even if it's questions. You know, this might be your day. You get all the assistance that you need. Now, I've got Kutalo Stano, who says, speech. Some corrupt officials do sell identity documents to foreign people, and you'll find out being married to somebody you don't know, and they will take furniture using your identity document. So it's painful being blacklisted for something you did not take. Tabi Somoshukane says, yo, it once happened to me where someone borrowed money from the loan sharks with my identity, and I was forced to pay 5,000 rands. But painful thing is that I was unable to pay because I'm currently unemployed. Well, it seems like quite a lot of people are following for this money. But let's come to you, Octavia. Having gotten all this information, you know, and also being aware that you were going through what you were going through, take us through your recourse. So how did you find recourse for yourself? How did you get help?
Okay, like I said, what I done was, with me having or being able to have all the necessary tools to my disposal due to my actual job, what I done was, after dealing with all the 4 major credit bureaus within South Africa, disputing it, all the accounts that was not opened by myself, like Michelle said, you have to wait 21 days.
Yeah. So what kind of documentation were you required to submit to?
Your own identity, your ID, your payslips, and basically 6 months payslips they want, and then they want your 6 months bank statements. Yeah. 6 signatures, you know, sample signatures of yourself, and that's basically to assist.
So that's your original ID right there on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. And the fraudulent one, did you get a copy of how it looks?
Yes, that's me too.
So they just changed the face.
They changed the face, but also the issue date of the ID. If you look at the original ID, issue date is not the same, so yes.
Okay, and what else were you required to submit?
Like I said, my payslips, my bank statements, and they were actually looking at.
So what is that?
There is the actual contracts, and that's the payslips and stuff like that. Yes.
So that's the documentation that was many. So one can actually submit my ID, but then bring different pay slips and different residential area proof of residence and all that.
Yes. I think the point that I want to make, and it adds to what Octavia is saying and some of the callers, that although we say just do this and do that, that is a painful process. It's not, it's not an easy process. We will ask you to go and do an affidavit. We will ask you to bring a copy of your ID. We will ask you to bring a slip where you apply for your new ID at Home Affairs. So there are some steps that you need to take. It is a painful process. And because it's so painful, I think we'd like to, if somebody has not been a victim of fraud, protect your ID because it is very, very painful to get it back.
Michelle?
Yes.
So here she is, she submits the documents, you know, she took the documents, but Manie saying something that I find quite triggering, which is you have to submit proof or the slip where you want to apply for your ID. So what if you thought, you know, let's say, you know, I thought I just misplaced it around the house, or maybe a handbag was stolen, so I thought, there's nothing they're going to do with it, or I don't have the slip of when I actually went to apply for a new ID. What then?
So actually our process doesn't need, that's Manie's process. Our process doesn't necessarily require that you show that you've applied for a new ID. And in Octavia's situation,
you also
she didn't
have
lose,
to prove issue anything like that.
She didn't lose her ID. So this is the one thing consumers must remember, is that you don't have to have lost your ID for someone to have stolen your identity particularly in a virtual world. You know, we can open bank accounts, we want to open bank accounts, we want that convenience. But especially in a digital world, you know, as Manie said, if your Edgar's statement, I don't want to pick on a particular, but any statement that you get, you know, it might have your account number. It may well have your bank account number on it. It's got your physical address. You know, in the hands of the wrong person, in some cases may even have your ID. Be very, very careful with information like that.
Just talking about being careful with information, sometimes, you know, for security reasons, you walk into a building, they require you to sign, to put your name, your ID number, reason of visit and all that. Can I say I can't? Or am I putting myself at risk by putting my name and my ID number out there?
I'm always nervous.
Always nervous.
Always nervous when I have to give that information. I don't have the answer to that, but I don't feel comfortable.
You have the right to ask how that information is going to be protected, because you're handing over personal information. You do have the right.
And how else can I put myself at risk? I do understand you said social media, you know, put out there, you take a picture, you know, the questions that you answer with these games, and also, of course, losing your identity. You know, how else? What other means perhaps that you were not really aware of that you can issue your information voluntarily, but put yourself at risk?
Think about, so we ought, I mean, I think it's right for us to want to trust the financial institutions who hold our information, because there's reputational risk for them if it's stolen from them. But equally, we may use the same password across multiple, it's nice and convenient to use the same password to access different types of services. Remember that some of those services don't have the same reputational risk. They may not take as much care with your personal information as a financial institution may have. So we never ever use the same password across, as convenient as it may be.
Change your password.
And use different ones.
Okay. Octavia, you're also in the retail industry, as as to my understanding, as much as you're a victim, but also you come across people who'd open, you know, accounts, you want to take this and this and this. Definitely, you know, you've come across similar issues, or rather, you know, you have seen people who are really putting themselves at risk, not knowing that they're putting themselves at risk. What kind of cases have you come across?
I think the basic, what happens is especially when people go out there and they open accounts, and if your account has been rejected, why would I want to leave my information with the credit provider if they're not going to service me at the end of the day? And that is, for me, that is a risk. That's a huge risk, to leave your personal information with people who's not going to grant, or who's not going to extend any credit to you.
But I think it's easy, guys, to say, well, don't leave your information, don't do this. In cases where, you know, the information is truly required, that in order for you to get access into the building, you need to leave your ID number. I'm not comfortable doing that. Somebody calls me, you know, they do say, yes, you've got an account with this and this and this, or maybe you want to get your credit record. I've done it before. When you want to get your credit report, they ask you to give your ID number. And truly, you don't know who's sitting on the other side and what they're going to do with that information.
You have to, there's certain institutions you just have to trust, because they have, you know, it's a reputational risk for them. We challenge, challenge information that you provide to us to make sure it is you that is asking for the credit report.
What about cases, Manie, where I'm married, me and my spouse, we're going to open an account, or perhaps, you know, want to have a bond. Definitely that's somebody who's closer to me and who can go on my behalf, you know, and be trusted by a financial institution. If we've got a bond together, or, you know, we've purchased a property, or we've got shares together, how then can I take recourse in that case? Because I did not lose any documentation, but, you know, this is somebody I trusted who took it up.
Yeah, I think you're opening a total new can of worms. Is that now you're trusting people with your financial situation, and it's not an identity that is stolen. So that is a total. You will be liable if you provide information to people who then abuses that situation.
Even if it's your spouse.
Even if it's your spouse.
Even if it's your spouse. Well, call us right here in the show. It's 011-714-691-8 and I think what's interesting is knowing that, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a stranger who can take advantage of your information, or rather your identity. It could be somebody who's closer to you. It could be your retail shop, you know, your creditors and so forth. So we're required to always be cautious and to know who are giving out our information to and what they're going to do with it. Well, after the break, I'll continue to read your messages. You can send them through. Give those tweets a run right there on Twitter. I'll be back shortly. Stay with us. All right, so we'll continue with our discussion right here in the show. Right now, I'm just going to check those messages you've sent me on Facebook, of course. I've got Jackie Malupi, who says, but sometimes employers and scammers, they throw our CV, text number, bank statement, etc. on the public bin. Nozingoma says, I think credit providers also have a leakage in terms of protecting consumer identity, because you'll find out people call and send us SMSs claiming to qualify for things that we didn't even apply for. Christine Gomezulu says, I'm experiencing the same ID issue. I've never lost my ID at all, but already on credit bureau for accounts I don't know of. Once opened a case, but the police in charge kept on sending me from pillar to post. And when I went to Home Affairs, they told me I should apply for a new ID, which I can't because I've been using this ID book since my birth. I'm blacklisted and unemployed. I can't find a job because of this issue. Quite sad right there, Christine Gomezulu. I think we also need to, just assist her in terms of finding recourse in that case, maybe, where she can take it going further. Now, we've got Qetukwazi, who's calling us from KZN. Baba Qetukwazi, welcome to the show.
Yebo bhuti uyaphila.
Sikhona kunjani baba?
Yebo mina ebengicela ukubuza bhuti ukuthi mangabe mhlawumbe umuntu ezontshontsha i-ID yakho bese ekujoyinele insurance ungazi mhlawumbe yeza mhlawumbe usuyeza mhlawumbe kuthuba ngwazi ukuthatha i-ID yakho.
Umuntu omaziyo?
Angazi?
Umuntu omaziyo?
Umuntu mhlawumbe umuntu omaziyo mhlawumbe umuntu ongamazi. Mhlawumbe umuntu wena ungazi ungamlanga ivuma ukuthi i-ID yakho ijoyinele insurance.
Insurance yokuthini baba? Insurance yakho yokuphila or eyani? Yoku i-life cover.
Yebo futhi wena ungazi yena antshontshe ilona i-photocopy ID yakho yokujoyinela ungazi.
Manje ufuna ukuthini wena? Ufuna ukuyivala? Okay. Bukela ke baba, umabonakude wakho sokwazi ukuthi sikusize lapho kulelo daba. So Qetukwazi wants to know, if somebody takes your ID or they get a copy of your ID and then they go and open a life cover or a policy on your behalf, what then can you do if you want to close that?
Well, you need to go to the insurance company first and dispute that. And then definitely protect yourself with us in terms of your ID, because the insurance companies use the South African Fraud Prevention Services.
Especially nowadays, because people, are really taking leverage and making business of life covers.
Yes.
You are sitting and somebody's just waiting for you to, and then they'll claim millions. All right. So let's just talk about, we do understand that unemployment is, it's such a big rise in South Africa, quite a high rate. People are daily looking for opportunities. And in most cases, with the advancement of technology and the ever-changing face, like I said, you don't really have to go to the post office. Sometimes you're required to apply online, put in your, most confidential information out there. Can I put myself at risk by doing that?
I think we will always be at risk, and we need, as individuals, decide where are we drawing the line. So I would, you have to trust at some stage to say that this information will be used in the correct capacity. If it's not, then you need to know what to do. That's all. But I think we're all at risk at some stage in providing information.
Okay. And what about information, just before I get to you, Michelle, information that's stored on hard drives, printers, and all sorts of things. What should you do with that information? Well, just to make sure that, do you encrypt it to ensure that you're protected,
so
and the other person
make sure you've always got the latest virus. Even in your personal PC at home, latest antivirus software must be there. You have a responsibility to protect yourself as well. You can't just assume that the service provider must take all of the onus, or all of the onus must sit with them. You've got to do that as well.
So what happens in a case where, let's say I've lost my cell phone? You do understand these cell phones, smartphones, they require quite a lot of personal information. You lose your computer, all these electronic gadgets, or you give it to somebody else who's closer to you. Am I putting myself at risk with that?
Yeah,
certainly.
So how do you ensure that it's clean and nobody can access that? Take it to iPhone or whatever?
Yeah, take it to be wiped. Take it to be wiped.
To be wiped clean.
And, most businesses today, if you have a company phone, have the ability to wipe it. So let them know, if it happens to, if you've got personal information and company information.
So make sure that it's wiped. And if you can't clear that information, take it to the store shop or somebody who knows better.
And also, obviously, report it stolen. Make sure the cell phone company knows, those EMI codes, let your cell phone provider be aware of that so they can block that device and it can be off the network completely.
Okay, let's talk about the protection of personal information. We do understand that it was going to stand in a gap and ensure that people are protected in a way. How far are we, with that? Is it still going to come to play? Can I, expect and look forward to it?
Yeah, you can. So one of the examples, I think on the Facebook was people talking about employers chucking stuff in a public bin. This is exactly what the protection of personal information is supposed to protect us against, to make sure that anyone who holds personal information, takes really good care of it and is a custodian of that and understands the implications should they
and it also means that, you know, there could be further steps that could be taken legally or however to protect me. Or should I find or spot a person, let's say Octavia steals my ID, I can take it to court and so forth, right, Manie?
Yes, of course, because she would be a fraudster if she does that.
Of course.
Okay, all right. It seems like we're going to have some graphics that are going to come through. Well, we've closed our lines, and hopefully you've got all the information that you wanted. But just before we close, let's give it to you, Octavia. Being somebody who went through this, being somebody who's in the industry of retail, what words do you have for people who are watching right there at home? How can you warn them and put them on caution?
I think they need to just be very careful and keep their personal information, such as their IDs and their payslips and bank statements, from the hands of people out there who are just waiting, you know, to go out there and commit these frauds, because it's all over. I think being extra vigilant and take care of your stuff. You really take care of your stuff, and whatever goes through your cell phones, and you know, those notifications are there for a reason.
And you also see right on the screen, they're saying the information you throw in the rubbish bin can be quite risky and all that. You know, also delete all kind of information that can put you at risk. Let's give it to you, Michelle. What are your closing words?
Yeah, we also haven't spoken about phishing, and we haven't spoken about the fact that often we get these marvelous SMSs. We've won the lottery. How fantastic! Please, will you phone Mrs.
If we
Jacobs?
didn't play the lottery, don't answer. I think that's what I always say.
Never, ever, ever disclose
never, ever.
personal information.
No matter how tempting the offer is, or you're told to go to Mr. So-and-so's office to claim your prize.
Please don't.
Manie, let's give it to you. What are your closing remarks?
My closing remarks is protect your ID, not physically only, but also when you lose it. Phone us, we will do it. It's a free of charge service what we provide. Also, when you are a victim of fraud, phone us and we will put you through a process, painful process maybe, but go through that process to help you and protecting further frauds.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on Yilungelo Lakho, and I'm sure our viewers have learned so much. I'm also going to be quite cautious when I'm throwing out stuff, and also, you know, the information I put on Facebook, social media, we must be really careful. Well, thank you so much for you, to you right there at home as well, for joining us for another hour of consumer information right there, right here on SABC 1. I don't know why I'm blabbing, but anyway, it's time for us to go. We'll leave you here for today. Make sure that you catch our repeats every Monday at 12 p.m. right here on SABC 1 in Mzansi for sure. If not, you can go and check us on YouTube. Guess what? You can also catch our episodes right there. So in today's episode, you can go and check Yilungelo Lakho and of course key in identity theft, and then all those episodes will be able to come through. Well, from me, Sipho Kanzaumbi, and the rest of the team, from all of us right here in Johannesburg to you right there at home, it's till next time. Amaku.
Yilungelo